focus. Don't try and do a lot of things at once. Excel at one thing, make it happen. Then you can move on to your other project. But you can't do a lot of things at once. Entrepreneurship needs your utmost focus.
From CNR JUTA De BEER, imile umsindisi wesizwe, umvelisi ngomelisi wesizwe, formerly known as Lwazi Madonsela, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture but also formalize the street hustle. On today's episode, we have Inga Gubeka, umsindisi wesizwe, umvelisi special edition, Tomzi Mcelo Kizamba Nonina. This one's for the books. I thought about it that we were coming back this year. And I thought of retitling the podcast to an audio book because I feel like we're getting so much knowledge, we're getting so many stories, we're capturing history in real time. We have Inga Gubeka, Mr. Atelier himself, a designer, a businessman, angel investor, mentor, game changer, an activist, a man who shares his opinion about almost everything that he believes in.
100%.
How are you feeling?
I'm too nice, man. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I love this podcast channel.
Oh, damn, thank you.
When I watched, like some of your podcasts and the quality of content that your guests, bring onto the platform, I was blown away. So when you gave me a ring to say, "Yo, I want to do a podcast with you," I was like, "Perfect."
I want to do it.
Actually, I don't take interviews, but I was like, "I'm doing this one."
We were sitting. I've been wanting it for a long time because we met last year early through Masonwabe, and then he told me about you, and then I was like, okay, cool. Then I met Dillian, and then Dillian told me about you. And I was like, shit. Then I don't know what's happening on Twitter. I joined the space, and I heard you. Like, okay, cool. Okay, cool. But the context for the people who don't know at home, what do you do?
What I do is, it's quite interesting, right? I can't explain it myself, but I'm going to try and explain it. I'm a creative, first and foremost, and I'm an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Through my creativity.
Sure.
So I made creations that make me an entrepreneur, right? Because there's a fine line between creativity and entrepreneurship, right? So you can create a product, but it doesn't mean that will make it to an entrepreneurship level. It can look beautiful and sit at your house. If someone hasn't bought it, or someone hasn't someone hasn't bought it and you haven't put it out there for a sale, you are not an entrepreneur yet. At all. Until it transacts, then you are now an entrepreneur because you've made something that's a product and now you can actually transact using it, and that makes you an entrepreneur. So, my background is design. I studied industrial design. I started in Cape Town at CPT, which is a very good place, for creativity. The environment is just conducive for creativity and creatives, and I'm very blessed to have lived in Cape Town for so many years, and got sort of the creative juices in me, the creative business, out of me, because creative business is very important, There needs to be a balance of the two, the creativity and the business, So that also taught me both aspects, of my journey.
I feel like you're downplaying it, so I'm gonna ask the one question I've never been able to ask on this podcast thus far. How does it feel to be a black man who owns a factory in South Africa during a recession?
I tell you what, it feels really good, but at the same time, it's the hardest thing because you've got so many people depending on you for their bread, So it no longer becomes about you. It's about the people that make your dream come through that you need to look after, So it is very humbling, to say the very least, very humbling, but also very scary. Each and every time you walk in, you're thinking, shit, so many people, so many people.
I always sit back and it hits me all the time where you have to sit and you have to reverse engineer everyone's journey. Where you're like, okay, cool, this person did 1, 2, 3. It's not my journey, but analyzing Inga's journey, analyzing Nicole's journey, analyzing whoever's journey, you're looking at it at how far it takes the next person, right? When I sat back and I looked at your journey, I was like, okay, cool. This guy, at his core, he's a designer. But most importantly, you're not an advocate, but you always pushing for change, and in change you're controlling it in real time. But how did you get to that point where you went from working with the collective to then saying, yo, I'm starting Inga Atelier, and then Inga Atelier is going to build its own community of luxury as a black kid? How was that possible?
So how was that possible is that, I draw inspiration from big luxury brands. Like if you look at the story of Louis Vuitton, he was a homeless boy, story of Rolex as well. He came from a very poor background and all of that. So when I looked at all these stories, like I relate to them, in a way, because I came from nothing, I come from a family that doesn't know anything about entrepreneurship, I come from a village originally in a place called Ingalane, where there's barely anything, But since Cape Town days, I developed a vision to create something that is truly African for the world. And that journey continues. I want the world, when they think of South Africa, not only think about Nelson Mandela. They must think about Inga Atelier. I must be there with the Nandos, you know what I mean? Like when they think of South Africa. So that's where I want to place the brand, and that's where I want to be, with this whole thing.
How are you currently exporting the brand? Because I've seen you in retail stores where you are distributing your products.
Currently with Inga Atelier, we're not in the South African market at all. We've got a few bags at Egg that they asked me just to display. Like,
yeah, because those are the ones I saw.
Yeah, 3 or 4 bags, like they just pulled out from the factory, like that I just had to present, But everything lives in a container all the way to the US. And then it gets distributed from there to the stores and the online store. So you can't basically buy an Inga Atelier bag in South Africa unless you buy it from Egg. But once those bags are finished, there won't be
another
run at all.
And then how did you get to the cargo to the US? That's what everyone's trying to find out. Because as an interviewer, I always take the selfish fan perspective. Because we're a fan of your work. We see you talk about the things you do, but how do we get there? Because now I have my T-shirts printed, thank God for the savings, or something like that. How do I get to the cargo?
Great. So I met guys, from Dubai that are based in Dubai. They're like, hey, we love this product, and would like to be your distribution partner. We want to take this brand. We've got expertise, like in the US market, Europe and the Asian market. But we're going to start the brand with the US market because that's where the influence is, And they said, okay, great. What's the production capacity? So I gave them the production capacity. So when we looked at the production capacity and looked at what we can do in South Africa, there was no way we would be able to fulfill the South African orders and the international orders. So during lockdown, we did so well in the US, so much that there was no point of even doing anything in South Africa. That's how we got to be in the US market.
So you guys are a South African brand that sells in America.
That sells in America, pretty much.
Please say that for the camera.
A South African brand that sells in America.
That's insane. That's insane.
Thank you.
When these things happen to you, what's the experience like? Everyone's always talking about the anxiety they have when things are not happening. But when these things are happening, these connections are working, when the world is shutting down, you're going up. How does that feel?
To be quite frank, it feels really good. But the thing is, the way I work, I'm always on my next. You're
like me.
Yeah, I'm done here. You know what I'm saying? Like when the deal is done and everything is rolling out nicely, I'm on my next. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working on my next already, so I don't have enough time to celebrate, you know what I mean? Like my immediate, achievement at the time. It only hits me the time it's happening, but after that I'm moving on, I'm on my next, how do I improve? How do I get there? How do I get to this market? So that's how I am.
These markets, you enter in conversations that didn't exist before. Like you entering, most of us, try to do a brand, try to do a store. That's been the rollout in South Africa. And then probably do a collab with brand A and brand C when they're trying to activate for the youth. Like in Youth Month, as we're going to see coming up, everyone's going to be like, oh, you're a young black brand. Let's collaborate with you. Let's do a T-shirt. How are you maintaining your brand integrity without doing all these things? Because most brands pop off from these things.
So quite frankly, in South Africa, we don't, we used to get a lot of celebrities, influencers inboxing us, hey, can you gift me a bag? I want to do a shoot. I want to do this, and all of that, right? So what we do is we just look at the value. When we look at the value, okay, here is a big influencer with 1 million followers. Out of that 1 million followers, what's the sort of buying power that following has? Those are some of the things that we investigate and just have a look at the time. Because someone can just be followed by thirsty men who don't care about anything else, but the nice ass that this girl, posts or whatever the case is, which will not have any value for us. In fact, the influencer will post. Nothing will be said about the bag. Everyone is going on about how gorgeous she is, how beautiful her body is, how beautiful.
Does this happen in real time or?
Yeah, it has happened. It happens all the time. So the whole influencer thing needs to be revisited. I think it's a lot of people don't do it right.
I always say that the rise of influencers killed the need for tastemakers, because now with influencers, they do the whole 9 yards without even understanding what the yard is about.
100%.
Because now if I'm getting an Inga collab, I'm supposed to be pushing it like I've dreamt about this my whole life.
Absolutely.
And most people, they just have it there that, oh, shout out Inga. And yeah, man.
And you see, another thing that you must ask yourself is, out of all these celebrity businesses, how many of them have been a success? They've started alcohol 3-4 months down the line, they're no longer doing that. Skincare, they're no longer doing that. You get what I'm saying? So it's the focus is never there. The focus is always about themselves. Imagine if they can't focus on their own business, what will happen to yours?
So how do we fix marketing?
It's a conversation conversations that we need to have. It needs to be revisited. The whole influencer marketing concept, I feel like it's flawed. I think, by the way, there are influencers who are really good, who can really get your things, properly, like the likes of Big Bad Wolf. I think I like her. I think she's on point. Very small following, but, the passion she puts in making sure
she comes from the tastemaker age, though.
Yeah. She's on point, and then you get big volumes, high following, influencers that are, I think, are not that valuable in my opinion.
So when you creating, right, there's always this thing that's asked to influencers. What's the price? What do you want this? Because now we've established that, Inga has a brand. Inga can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inga does volume. In fact, Inga aligns with our brand, like the likes of the Skinny Spoon and Standard Bank type setup.
Yeah.
What's your worth? Because now you're an influencer, but in a different sphere.
When you say my worth, what do you mean by that?
If we're presenting it to a brand, what are you giving us?
Oh, okay. I'm going to make an example. In 2019, I went to Switzerland in Davos, I was speaking there at the World Economic Forum, and I was part of a big campaign by ABSA called Afrinicity, which was a fantastic campaign. They paid me quite...
ABSA, come to the show.
They paid me quite a lot, to be there. And I was also commissioned to do bags for them, for all their delegation, basically, They were going to be given the top 100 CEOs of JSE, basically, that were in Switzerland. Davos. Yeah, in Davos, yeah. So that was quite an experience as well.
But we need the worth answer.
I can't give you that.
I
can't give you that.
Because
I'm a humble guy. I can't give you that.
I'm sitting at home. I have 600 followers. What is my worth? Inga won't give me the bag. I can't make the bag happen out of nowhere. What actually is my worth? Because how do you calculate worth then? I think let's ask that question. As an expert, as someone who's worked with people, as someone who's put people in positions, as a mentor.
Yeah. So how I calculate worth, for instance, is I calculate it by the value predominantly. For instance, if a brand is collaborating with me, let's just say, right? They're getting access to me as an entrepreneur who's experienced in the fashion business, and the products business, and the distribution business, and the marketing business, because those are the top 4 items that actually make a business or a product,
Sure.
So I've got those. So I'm able to advise, to give direction, let's do it like that. They'll have access to my accountant, for instance. They'll have access to my people who create my content. They'll have access to my lawyers for contracts. So there's a lot of things that actually come with me that are very, very valuable. So that's how I quantify the worth.
You made wooden bags.
Yeah,
That transition from wood to leather.
that's right.
What was the financial implication? What was the mindset? Because we have this great idea right now, but how do I get it there?
I tell you what, at Indalo, right, we were doing about per year at the time, about 1.5 million per year at the time.
When 1.5 million was 1.5 million.
Yeah, at the time. When I left Indalo, I think it had about 2 million in the bank account, liquid. When I was like, I'm resigning and I'm not taking any money from this. I'm out. That's how I left the business, and I didn't want anything to do with it. Some of the reasons why I left the business is why Inga Atili exists.
We're listening.
I said to the team, guys, let us create a range of functional products, not art products, because the wooden bags were novelty and art. It's something that, like it's a collector's piece.
Yeah.
But you need something that you can move in volumes, that is very luxury, and therefore, like, I think we should do a range of bags. They refused. They say, no, we can't, because this thing works. We're exporting to Japan at the time, to Japan. We're exporting to Europe at the time, and they didn't want to. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm out. I'm resigning, because I wanted to pursue my creativity and my vision with these leather bags, and that's how I created Inga Atelier.
What's the next step after Inga Atelier? Do we go into home products?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've seen even Yvonne Chaka Chaka has a range.
Yeah, I saw that, which is beautiful. So what we're doing is we've got a holdings company called Superior Brands Africa, which owns Ascend and Inga Atelier. And the focus of those brands is to go global, nothing else. We've just signed some major deals, with international distributors. We're very happy with that. So we're just going to export,
By the time this drops, purchase.
Yeah. So that's what we're focusing on. And then we've got a homeware brand that's going to be launching around September called Nick, taken from Nicole Ngube, who's my partner, basically.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we are doing that's on the pipeline at the moment.
This, going into homeware, these sub-brands, how do you maintain the different values for each company? And when I say values, I'm talking about when you're expanding into global, because you're talking about superior brands, superior African brands.
Yeah.
Now we're distributing in Europe, we're distributing here. The fashion standards are not the same. How are you maintaining whilst you're still a local brand?
It's tricky.
Because our factory system is down.
Can you believe this, though, that we don't have a factory that can manufacture on a global quality standards in South Africa? How embarrassing is that? It's embarrassing, right?
Is mohair not South African?
It gets exported, all of it.
Sheesh.
The company in PE, which is the biggest supplier of the mohair of the world.
Yeah, it supplies LVMH.
Yeah, everybody. They export it. They leave a little bit, like for smaller players, like in South Africa and whatever, but majority of it gets exported. So now we've got a crisis of manufacturing. Unfortunately, I will have to manufacture somewhere else, because we're not, the clothes the bags I'm keeping in South Africa, but the clothes I'm going to make, the Ascend stuff we're going to manufacture somewhere else because of the quality issue.
Political control is a crazy thing, but also the business control, the community of Black creatives. How are you guys as people who've established businesses? Is there some sort of like group chat where you guys are helping each other? Is there team playing or efforts of ever merging? Because you guys are doing different things in different fields, where it's like if you merged with the Tepo Jeans, it would not be weird or anything because that's a different faculty.
100%. No, so with us, like we are in constant talks, like sharing ideas with some key players playing in the luxury space, the likes of Lucanio, the likes of Tebe, and
Tebe.
So we do talk about these sort of things, basically, like the impact of these things, how can we better, the industry,
Yeah.
sustainably so, but actually like also manufacture in South Africa, But unfortunately, we don't have the time to set up the factories to get them to a global standards as yet. We need to focus on our brands right now. Unfortunately, like would love to focus on that, but we need to focus on our brands.
The brands thing, right? There's been a surge in the sneaker game, the shoe, the footwear
Yeah.
industry. Are you ever looking into going into that?
No.
Especially for a sub brand like Atelier, where it's like you guys actually make leather goods.
No. It's not our market. I feel like I like what's happening with the sneaker game. By the way, it's really good. But I don't think we want to go that route. We want to stick to high value products, luxury products, because you must remember with the sneaker you can only charge so much, for a local sneaker. Otherwise, the minute you price it at a different price, you're competing with a different brand that's got a bigger name. That means you'll lose out, from that, A good example, we can't make sneaker, for instance, and price it at a Balenciaga price. We'll come second best,
Even though you are a luxury brand.
100%. But we can get away with that with the bag. But we can't get away with it with the sneaker. Because people take their sneakers very seriously. There's a whole sneaker culture. So those are some of the things that, could be tricky.
Talking brands, sneakers, what's the marketing budget like for a small company? You're relatively big, but in the grand scheme of the people you're playing against, the field you're on, like, what's the marketing? How do you even set your own marketing budget?
The marketing budget is crazy. For instance, with us, it goes to content creation and just meta ads, and Google ads and all of that. Per month, we spend probably about 40K.
Jesus.
Yeah. Easy.
That's a
And
household income.
And it's nothing compared to what we're trying to do, It's nothing. In the US, we spend a little over 200,000 in rands per month, converted to rands, to market in the US.
And you still doing it on a digital scale. So
yeah,
imagine
and-
when you have to go physical.
Yeah, and by the way, that is just production. The ad agency gets paid about $500,000.
Hey. Have you ever thought of in-housing your ideas? Where you get a team, like a local team, you're like, oh, these videographers, these are our team now. And we just exporting the work.
So the Inga Atelier team does not even sit in South Africa. Only production takes place here.
Please break us down the Inga Atelier team.
Yeah.
It seems...
Yeah, the team sits in Dubai.
Okay.
Everything is running. So my position is a creative director. Then there's a team, that sits in Dubai, the customer care, the MD of the company, the head of marketing as well, that works with the ad agencies. Digital ad agency that's based in the US.
So realistically, you don't need to be experiencing load shedding.
I shouldn't. I should not even be here.
Yeah.
My money is not even coming from here.
And you're still spending your money here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm taking this here as a solutions here. I feel like we cry a lot as creatives. But what are the top 5 things you'd like to change in the creative industry for the kids coming up? We know the struggles you've been through, but what are the things you'd like to change for the next Lwazi sitting at home there?
Yeah. So what I'd like to change is we need, the creatives, they tend to think that creativity is everything. But creativity without business, it's doomed. There's nothing there. You need the business aspect of things, right? If you've got a product as a creative and you want to go into entrepreneurship with this product, it's either you're going to learn to be an entrepreneur or get somebody who understands business. Otherwise, you'll have a beautiful product sitting at home.
Yeah.
Because you don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You don't have the grit. You've just created. And creating alone is not enough.
It's 5% of the work.
I don't know how many times I design in a year, but it's very seldom. I spend most of my time, researching business ideas, strategies, looking at business, like all the admin work, all the things that the creatives don't like. That's what I spend doing.
The things you spend doing, you are a mentor to a bunch of people. How does one get the opportunity to be mentored by you? I'm asking for the next batch. Because your other students have graduated thus far.
Yeah. Right now, I'm just taking it easy. Quite frankly, in the next 8 months or so, I'm just focusing on, our international distribution, with Ascend, and Inga Atelier with the partnership which I signed recently. So I'm not even taking interviews. I took this one because it's you.
Shout out everyone watching.
I was like, damn, this, Lwazi Madonsela, I love that podcast. Yeah, I'm going.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
and it's so weird. I ran up at the same time that your invitation came.
Yeah.
I got another podcast interview for a a business network podcast, I told them I'm still thinking about it. So I want this to be out first, and then I'll think about it.
With a future network, let's go.
Yeah. This is the best podcast for business, man. Like, it's fantastic, and creatives. It's just amazing. Lastly, what I want to say to the creatives, don't only focus more on the creativity. You know what I mean? Like, convert your creativity to business. If you can't convert your creativity to business, you don't have a business. You are just any other person with an idea.
As someone who had ideas, as someone who was in Cape Town, as someone who's absorbing like culture, the business, meeting people, do you still think like the future creatives need a landmark like CNR JUTA DE BEER to meet up, or we can just fully go digital?
I think there should be a balance between going digital, and just keeping things the way they were. I think both models work, in my opinion.
And my favorite question, the one that they kill me on the comments when I forget to ask.
What?
What's your word to the youth?
My word to the youth?
Yeah.
Ooh, my advice to the youth. Pursue your dreams. Focus. Don't try and do a lot of things at once. Excel at one thing. Make it happen. Then you can move on to your other project. But you can't do a lot of things at once. Entrepreneurship needs your utmost focus. You need to focus. Like, you must live it, sleep it, wake up and think about all these things that you want to change in your business. But you can't be selling biscuits now. The next thing, you are selling sneakers. The next thing, you need to focus.
I need to be a multifaceted, Inga.
No, but, entrepreneurship, look, you can be that. Don't get me wrong, you can be that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is that you are not giving your business enough time and attention it needs for it to grow. Because your mind is split into biscuits, it's split into this, it's split into that. You don't have enough time to give this thing like your all. You see like all the mistakes, all the things that could possibly go wrong, how to improve it and all of that, because your mind is split everywhere. Whereas if you narrow down that energy towards one business and make it work and move on to the other once it works with this team, then you've got something. But you can't be all over the show. Focus.
Inga Bafetu. Sabo.
Don't
forget to like and subscribe.
Thank
and
you.
most importantly, support the man. The businesses are there.
Appreciate
And
it.
the opportunities are about to arise. So once they expand, they might need creative directors. They might need more people. And get
Thank
your
you.
passport because it's based in Dubai.
That's it.
Thank you for coming to the show.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate this.
Thank you, my brother.